Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. We are, depending on how you feel, anywhere from an hour to hour and 45 minutes late.
Well, time doesn't matter anymore. We've learned
That's right. Today. Time is like spaghetti, and it means nothing.
This is the Eric Stoltz version of mead.
Yeah, here's my reaction to the whole thing.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
We'll get into what I mean by that exactly, but anybody who's been following me for the better part of a year, I've been slowly leaking information about this movie, and everything I've leaked out has pretty much come to fruition. Pretty much. Yeah. But let's not waste any time here. I got a mouthful of Wagyu burger. Ooh. And I'm ready to talk about The Flash. We got Six in the house. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I've had a big smile on my face since I got home, and I very much have been looking forward to this stream. So I'm doing great.
Cool.
All right. Well, next up we have Nick Weiser. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Hail to our chat and our wonderful mods. Glad to have you all here. Glad to be here with you, Sis, Claudia, and CC Karaoke. I saw a movie tonight, and we're going to talk about it.
Yes, we are. We all saw a movie here. We also have joining us Mr. Clobbering Times. How you doing?
Hey there, man. I'm doing okay. Glad to be here. Hello, everybody out there in the chats, and hello to my fantastic panelist pals.
Well, I can tell already this is going to be an interesting panel. Sadie, what are you doing? She's been acting goofy since I got home, and she's like whipping around. She missed you. I know, but she's like whipping around like she's trying to get a bug or something, and I don't see a bug. So I don't know what she's doing. Maybe. Also joining us, CC Karaoke, sometimes who is white as a ghost, probably after sitting through this movie for so long, I'd imagine so.
Well, I mean, the great thing about being out here is I could take as long as I wanted with it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this because that was definitely an experience of some kind this morning.
What?
It's the kind of movie where you stop and you think about it for a few minutes and then you come back to it. And yeah, I got through it.
Well, you had the opportunity to stop it and think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I have special powers. I can stop time.
Yes.
He's the Lord of the North.
To me, you can run really fast in a certain direction and stop time.
It's a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
I think I said that's not how the Force works 100 million times during this movie.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, I have a feeling we're going to have an interesting bout. I think we're going to have a bit of a tug of war with who enjoyed the movie, what they thought about it. I can already tell by certain reactions. But I'm not going to assume too much. Let's get everybody's initial reactions before we get into spoilers and break into all that type of business. Let's give everybody your basic feelings on the film. No spoilers, just an overall feeling on the movie. Six, let's start with you since you're like busting into seams. Okay, last. Fine. Nix, we'll start with you. I didn't hear you say last. My bad.
Oh, sorry.
That's me?
Yeah, that's you.
Okay,
You're the only Nick I
me.
know here.
All right. I wasn't
Talking
sure
to
if
me?
you said something. No, I'm talking to you, Adrian. I mean, Tom. Anyways, it was really bad. It was
Michael Jackson
very
bad?
distracting. Very distracting CGI. There were some parts that were not as bad as people said it was. There were some parts that were not, but then the parts that were bad were horrendously bad. The parts that were bad were like they were the cream of the crop in terms of atrocity. Like, man, it was like Macho Man would be very disappointed because there's no crop here. I was like, bro, and the Ezra Miller is not Barry Allen whatsoever. No. Now, whether you see his recent activities or not, even if you put all aside, I could, if I have to, I will. I could put that aside, pretend it happened. He's just not Barry Allen. And what's unfortunate is like there's some scenes that could work if it was with an actor who looked and acted like Barry Allen. There's some scenes I won't go into until we just spoils, but because it's Ezra Miller, you can't take it seriously.
Maybe if it was Eric Stoltz.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That would have made it great.
Yeah. It was there was some cool moments for Michael Keaton. I that's not a spoiler. Everyone knows Michael Keaton's in it. I wouldn't say it was like I wouldn't say I was like over the moon about, but there's some cool parts there. There was definitely a lot of things that with the story, I was just like, whether it was some of the bad dialogue or some of the moments of Barry that are just absolutely unheroic and un-Barry Allen. So if people are wondering, it is mostly a Flash movie, but it's, oh boy, if you're now someone who absolutely cannot stand Ezra Miller and you can't take your mindset of him out of the equation, good luck surviving this one. I don't know what more I can say without spoilers. It's really hard to talk around this one. It's really hard.
Well, this is just our brief overall.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll leave
thumbs
it at
up,
that.
thumbs down, A, B, C, whatever kind of rating you want to give it.
I'll get an F-.
Wow. Ooh. Okay. Clobby.
Well, one thing I will definitely say for this film in its defense is it definitely was filmed and shown on movie screens. I think that's undeniable. I think that's one thing you really have to come away. I came away knowing for a fact that this movie was made in a cinema and shown on cinema screen. Exactly. You can say what you want about this movie. It was shown on cinema screens, baby, and you can't take that away. Why it was, I can't. That we're gonna have that would just and this is not a philosophy class, folks.
So you're saying it's the best Flash movie we've ever had?
Only if you don't put the word Gordon after it, and
yeah,
I guess, and it's also the slowest Flash movie we've ever had.
Oh Lord, yeah, a movie about the fastest person alive, and it's slow as fuck
as can be. I didn't mind some of the beginning. I got to be honest with you because I have a malicious streak, as you know, towards the Snyder Twerse. It was kind of funny that if you, out of the gate something that it does that we'll talk about later. Nevertheless, I think the first half hour or so, I wasn't necessarily hating anything that much. I was kind of rolling the eyes a little bit, trying to give it a chance because I come with just to let you know, I come in with a major admitted prejudice when it comes to Barry Allen, not just because of Ezra Miller being horribly cast. I love the character of Barry Allen, and I hate, and add about 50,000 more hates on it. The retcon version of his origin about about what happened to his mother, the whole crap with someone going back in time and killing her and framing her, father for it. All that crap is retconned way after they'd already ruined the character. I love the old Silver Age Barry Allen, who just became a superhero after he got the powers because it was a good thing to do. He didn't have to have a stupid, tragic backstory. Jackass, Jeff Johns, and all the other people who did that stuff, who did it. I think it's Johns' fault. And
he
so
is
I
complicit.
that.
He's the one, Clobby.
Right.
That because of Flash Rebirth. That was Flash Rebirth. I remember when that came out.
It makes me sick. So I got to admit a prejudice towards this story anyway. I mean, no matter what you do, if you're and that doesn't mean I couldn't like a movie with it anyway, but I don't like it. And they wallowed in because it wallows you in too much misery and crap. I hate it. So anyway, overall, I found it to be an extremely. We'll get into it later. An extremely tedious, especially as time. Sorry, pardon the pun. Goes on. Absolutely idiotic. No nonsensical drivel. And are we going on letter score or number scores? Because the number,
whatever you decide.
I give it about maybe a 2.5 to a 3 out of 10, if we're doing it that way. I mean, if we're
Sounds
giving
like
it
an F minus,
so that's probably close to the F range, because there's some heart here and there. It's just there's no sense to it. Yeah.
So you want to go dead last 6 or after me?
Did Cece go?
Oh yeah, CC. I guess we missed out on you. I'm sorry.
Well,
I was going
I'll
in the
go
other
and
order.
then-
My bad. I was like, oh yeah.
Tom's eating, so
I have less preconceptions about the Flash than Clobber times because I was never big into the Flash as I was for other characters like the X-Men and all that. So I don't know what was changed about the backstory. So I had a bit of a fresher perspective on that side of things, and I didn't hate the movie. But that being said, I mean, I would say my initial thought afterwards was, wow, by tomorrow or next week, I'm going to have completely forgotten about this. It has no lasting impact. And that might be a good thing because when you look at, the Disney Star Wars films, that completely ruined an IP. I don't think this is going to completely ruin DC. It's definitely not going to help because they're going to have to go into Superman in the reboot that they're doing, starting kind of from scratch, trying to build up a fan base that hasn't already had a good vibe going on. But it's not. I don't think it's completely destroying anything. By about the halfway mark, even the 2/3 of the way through the movie, I was willing to give it a 6 out of 10. By the end of it, I had dropped that to a 4. And there's a couple of things, without getting into the spoilers yet, that impacted my viewpoint on the movie. The first thing is Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash. I don't know, like I said, I don't know a lot about what the Flash is supposed to be as a character, but the way Ezra Miller played the Flash was a really heavy, sopping dose of soy latte and neuroses. And there's, I mean, like, and just Gen X, and I couldn't stand it. I tried, but I mean, there's so much Ezra, and maybe he was playing more of himself than the Flash. Maybe the Flash is supposed to be that way. I would have preferred a bit more of a weird science than soy latte, and it just kind of ground me down because every scene that he was in just annoyed me by the end of it. And I also didn't like the final act. And we can get into that when we get into spoilers, but I would have structured the whole movie differently. So on the one hand, I think if Ezra Miller wasn't in the movie and there was somebody else playing the Flash who portrayed the character a little bit differently, I might have liked it.
I agree
more,
with that.
even if nothing was changed otherwise. But that also doesn't change the fact that the script had a lot of problems, and I really would have constructed the story very differently because there's so many things thrown at the wall there that you don't have time to let anything really develop and breathe and have impact. So without going into spoilers, that's probably as much as I can say on that right now.
All right, 6. You want to go, or you want to give it a rating at all?
No,
Thumbs up, thumbs down, CC, or?
I'll give it a thumbs down for the most part.
If I'm doing the Ebert thing, I'll go with 6 on that.
I love superhero movies, and I was really excited looking forward to this.
I thought you were going to like this. Okay.
I thought I was going to, leading up to it, I thought I was going to love it. And then the last couple days, hearing some people's reviews, I was like, oh, it's going to suck. And then I sat down and, the first action sequence starts and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to love it. And then it's going to suck to be on the panel because everybody's going to hate it. And I'm going to be the odd one out. And that's just not how it played out. I think my overall score, I think I'm going to say a 4.5. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll
So
say
you didn't
5.
enjoy
I'm
the
gonna say
baby
5.
shower.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't want to say a spoiler, but there's
Well,
one
it's in
part
the
of that
trailer.
baby
Well,
shower
Mhm.
that what was another reason that I thought I was going to love it was because, can I say it, what he does in the baby shower?
Well, we'll get right into that here shortly.
Okay.
Let me do my quick reaction because
Okay.
obviously I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It pissed me off. And I'm so pissed because this could have been one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. Instead, it's a big, wasted, flopping mess.
Big time.
It feels like half the movie's gone. And I'm not even talking about personal feelings on certain things or otherwise. No, this movie feels like it's truncated as fuck, even though it drags the fuck on. Clobby's right. Like, you have a problem here. Half of your setup is gone, and half of what's left is garbage. And a lot of it's stuff that you can deduce on your own. Like, what is the rest of this movie? It could have been one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. It had chance to have heart. It had humor in it. I actually laughed at some moments in this movie.
Yeah.
And for the right reasons. Not like, but then also there was times I was laughing for the wrong fucking reasons. A lot more than I was laughing for the right fucking reasons. Every single bit of CGI in this movie looks worse than PS2 level garbage.
Yeah.
There's even shots where it looks like Ezra Miller is floating. Look at the scene where he's talking to himself in the bedroom. The version of him sitting on the ground does not even look like he's supposed to be there.
It's so stupid.
This is what my dude meant when he told me all this shit is shot on green screen. Like 90% of Ezra's shit, because he had to be in the same scene together through the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
It could have been a good story. You have an idea that's in Flashpoint that you could nourish into a good story. And not only that, you have a story that you could combine where Flash, and they have that in the movie, without getting into spoilers, where Flash and Batman have a lot in common as far as their background. Like their origin story, as far as what makes them do what they do. So in that, there is a story there. But it's fucking wasted in this spaghetti monster of a mess. It pissed me off. I was so angry at this movie, which means I didn't hate it. That's what I'm saying is there is a good fucking movie in here. A great fucking movie in here. I never thought I could say that about Flashpoint.
Do you think with a better edit?
No, it's not. It's the story, and I'll get into that when we get into the spoilers here. The whole problem with it is predicated right out of the Flashpoint comic book, and they even half-ass ignore it, and they still try to deal with the convoluted mess that it is. And that's the whole Flash boom thing that fucks everything up. This whole idea that something you do at one point affects both the present and the past. That is not how the fucking Speed Force works, okay? You can't, that doesn't even make any fucking sense. The end of this movie falls completely in on itself because of this logic.
Oh, what atrocity.
And we're going to get into that shortly. So let's not waste any fucking time. If I had to give this movie any stars, yes, Ezra Miller is one of the worst and best parts in his own fucking movie. Can the kid act? Yes. Is he any good as the Flash? No. Is he good playing off of himself? Yeah, he's got good chemistry with himself. That's it. Andre's right about that. That's the only person in this movie that he's got chemistry with.
Oh man, no, I can't believe I
felt
say it. I
nothing
agree with
him
you.
and Ezra what's his girlfriend's name in the movie?
Iris West.
Iris.
West.
Couldn't remember her name. There's no chemistry there whatsoever.
No.
Why see Iris? Jeez.
Oh,
Who the
because
fuck
of the
was-
TV show.
Who the hell did they
What?
cast as his dad?
Yeah.
Because Billy Crudup was the original. They got what's his name playing him here?
Henry Allen, the guy who's Henry Allen.
Yes,
His dad.
completely miscast. Like, where do you go
Very.
from that to that?
Yeah, I know that guy for
Terrible.
something, but
What? And I like both actors. That's what's pissing me off too. Is it's like you're making me not like this actor in this part because this is not the role for him. And I can't think of his name, but he normally does not. Ron Livingston. Thank you guys. The guy from Office Space. I was trying to think of his name. Thank you. Ron Livingston against Billy Crudup? What the fuck? Like, where do you get that? That is the worst bit of casting since fucking going from to the Iron Man casting. What they Terrence Howard to I can't remember his other dude's name.
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle, yeah.
I'm so pissed right now. I'm spitting pissed. I was spitting pissed after this movie. I am, because it's like this could have been a good fucking movie. Where was Supergirl in this whole
I
movie?
agree.
Paulie's right. She got completely cut out of this fucking movie.
I
She's in the
disagree.
movie.
This could have been a great movie.
I
I'm
thought
with
she
you
had a
on
lot
that.
more screen time than what I was led to believe by some of the reviews I watched.
Yeah.
I heard she was barely in the movie, and I thought
She feels
what
like an
movie?
afterthought at the end.
Okay.
True.
Like, well,
I
I'm just
thought
saying,
she
because
got a
we
lot
go
of
through
screen
so much
time.
of the movie, and then she shows up, leaves, and then comes back. And her whole like arc is kind of rushed. It makes sense, but it's rushed. Everything that I don't know how you can make a movie that's 3 hours long and still feel like everything's rushed, but yet slow. Like I don't understand the pacing of this movie. It made no sense to me. So anyway, let's get into spoilers. Sorry. Let
I
me
would have
get the banner.
taken I would have taken Batman and Supergirl completely
Let's,
out
yeah,
of it.
I was gonna say, put a
almost.
disclaimer. I'll put it in the chat too. Guys, we're going all in on
Ew.
spoilers. Huge spoilers. Huge.
Who wants to go first?
Bobby, you want to go first?
Because I
You want me to
disagree
go
about the
top?
Batman thing that CC just said. Supergirl, yeah, you don't fucking need her.
I don't mean to completely take him out. What I mean is that they spent so much time on their individual stories, and certainly the Supergirl aspect. And as much as I hated Ezra Miller in the movie,
Yeah.
I wished they had focused more on his struggle with, his story with his parents. Whatever, like I said, I don't have preconceptions on what they changed, which I know you do. But whatever path they were going to take with that storyline between him and his parents and trying to fix things, I wish they just focused on that. But they spent so much time on Supergirl and General Zod, which has nothing to do with this anyways.
That's what I meant, 6, is like it goes into like a detour in the third act of the film.
Yeah. And that scene, look, that whole scene was almost like, did they film it in desert just to save money because they had, like, they just didn't have enough money for something more interesting? We're like,
oh yeah, 6 makes a good point in this in the private chat. Thank you. We should probably do these super chats before we get into deep spoilers. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Not to disrupt the flow here, but that's a good point. In case people want to take off. McGarnagle, how you doing, McGarnagle? He sends in $9.99 and says the reshot ending is basically Gunn and Safran taking a steaming shit on the old DCEU. It's stupid, but I can't help but respect the audacity of it. I'm so happy they killed this safer DC in its cradle. But kind of like how Zod killed baby Kal-El, basically.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that part here in a minute because I got a whole nother rant on that. Like, I already kind of said my piece on that. But, Lord, yeah, because the funny thing is, and this is what I thought about that ending, that's the first thing that stood out to me about the ending was, so this was the first thing they shot, and then they also reshot this how many times now? Because that's the first leaked clips the leaked images we saw of Michael Keaton. He was in that scene originally. Remember? Because that's all that what you saw was on at the courthouse. All them pictures of him in his suit. It was Barry Allen in a suit,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Michael Keaton was all there, and all that kind of shit. That's that scene. That's the first thing they shot or whatever that we got images of.
Yep.
So we know Michael Keaton shot that scene with him.
Weird.
Which goes to prove what I've been saying all along is they shot like 3 or 4 different endings for this fucking movie, at least 3.
Oh God.
It feels like there are several movies in this movie.
And yet,
I agree.
no.
It seems like they took 5 different movies, took all the deleted scenes from those movies, and slapped them together to make this movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well,
I can see
I
Yeah,
was
I see
just
that.
straight up confused at sometimes, but I thought, well, I'm not as up on DC.
I'm surprised more people weren't in the theater. Like I did hear some murmurs throughout, but like the funniest fucking part of the whole screening was after the end credit sequence, you know, after you wait through the credit, like it's literally like at the very end of the end credits.
Yeah, I didn't watch the
One
very
kid
last
popped
scene.
up after the end of that and goes, "Oh, I'm so glad we waited for that."
What happened? Because I
Nice.
actually left after the first initial credits. I didn't watch the scene.
It's dumb. It's just Barry and Aquaman drinking.
Aquaman drinking. Yeah,
Oh,
It's the
Aqua
worst
Dude,
end
bro.
credit scene of any movie
It
I've
is.
ever
And
seen.
they're
terrible.
trying to wrap their
Useless
head around
crap.
this whole fucking thing. It's dumb.
Yeah, it was absolutely worthless.
The funniest
um,
part of the whole thing was when Aquaman passed out, fell in a puddle, and he's like, "I thought you were going to sleep on my couch." He's like, "This is my bed," or "This is my home," or whatever. And he puts his head back in the puddle. That actually made me chuckle. Other than that, the rest of it sucked.
Yeah, it was just ugh.
Yeah, I mean, just as
Oh,
kind of like a drunkard
awful.
thing, you know.
I don't know who the end credit scene was important to, but it was
To who?
me. Yeah, is it supposed to be leading up to
If this is the
something-
setup of
No,
Gunn's
nothing.
universe, Gunn is fucked. If he thinks,
No, it
okay,
means nothing.
spoil. We already got spoilers on. Because why the fuck would you have George Clooney with an 18-year-old kid? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I get it. He can make somebody pregnant, but that is fucking stupid.
yes.
What? What are you
It
talking
is.
about?
What do you mean?
There are people that think that George Clooney is now going to be playing Batman in James Gunn's Batman Brave and the
Oh,
Bold movie.
no.
Yeah.
So that
Really?
means that
Oh.
65-year-old Batman has an 18-year-old kid.
I don't think that's.
I don't think so either. I don't buy that. I think this is it. This is done. This is the end of the road, kids. Because Aquaman takes place before
Yeah.
this. I
So
think this
Gunn
was just to
shot
give
that in.
those guys one last hoorah together. As whatever, because you got notice they got everybody back in this movie except for Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cryborg. The two that actually
and
we know that are never going to come yet.
Cryborg. That never gets old. Somewhere out there, I'll bet you Cryborg dreams about Walter Hamada. He's like, oh, Walter Hamada. Oh, Walter! Walter!
Yeah. He's probably bitching because he thought he should be in this movie. Jeremy Winfield became a member. Did we catch which level it was? 6.
Yes, minimum effort puppy.
Ooh, Mikey's favorite.
And there's a member stream coming, I believe, next week, is what Andre said.
Did he? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hold him to it, I'm sure.
I'm going to try. All I can do is try.
I know. That's my life. All I can do is try.
Hey, speaking of the cutest puppy ever, where's Mikey?
He is running behind. He's dealing with some stuff. I don't think he got to see the
okay.
movie anyway.
What?
I don't know if he got to see the movie anyway. Maybe he did.
You don't read your own group chat, do you?
Oh, I guess I didn't. No, I just got out of the theater and I wrote shit and I left.
He said, okay. I'll give a spoiler to Mikey. This is what Mikey posted in the.
Okay, yeah, let's give his review because I don't think he's coming.
I just saw it in a mostly packed theater and the normies all clapped when it was done. And that's.
Oh,
all he said.
God. My theater was about a third full.
There were 4 people in my theater, and I knew every one of them.
Oh, really?
I posted a crack on Facebook before the movie started, and I'm looking at my phone at the end of it, and a friend of mine said, "Yeah, I'm sitting on this row." I said, "And I went, dude, where are you?" He said, "Up at the top row. Where are you?" And look, oh, there was one other dude. There were 5 of us in the whole theater.
I've had 2 people message me saying that they're hearing the numbers are not good. So
This was
the
3
early
o'clock
numbers.
down here.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to the 3 o'clock features.
Yeah. Well, this is early yet, but yeah. Anyway, E. Hellstrom says, The Flash, live review and roundtable. Beware of spoilers. Beware of spoilers. Who actually wants to see this? Well, that's just it. I've been slowly leaking this entire movie, and all those spoilers we got were pretty much true, aside from the few random things that were changed. And
If it hadn't been for Michael Keaton, I would not have gone.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
He was the
get to
best
that.
part.
But I still was taken out of it when the motherfucker can move better than he could 30 years ago.
He could turn his neck this time around.
That I actually giggled at when they had the fucking neck turning thing with younger Barry. That actually made me chuckle. Like, okay, of all the little Easter eggs you have in this movie, the head turn was the best. And then when he actually ripped the neck off, like that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Warrior Justice says, my girlfriend keeps stealing my hoodies. Thank God I'm circumcised. Not their one hoodie she can't steal. LOL. Hey, Clobber Lane, 6 Nicolas Cage to that time. Yeah. Magician Sapphire says, let's be honest, both the Sonic movies were better Flash movies than the Flash movie. Probably.
That's an insult to the Sonic movies. Those are fun.
It's sad. If the special effects were better in this movie, I would have been like, it would have been awesome in 3D. But the effects were so bad. I mean, so bad. All the reports of people saying, oh, the effects are bad, they're not as bad as you think. They're worse. They are fucking worse.
They were bad.
Like, oh my God, the cameos are the worst fucking part of the movie.
Dude, the time travel. They look like freaking what's that Christmas movie? They look like they came from Polar Express.
Worse than that, yeah.
It was so horrible. Yeah, like people keep saying, George Reeves' universe was in black and white, even though only the first 2 seasons of the show were black and white. So what is the I remember I'm not kidding. I'm old. So back in the 60s, when I saw a lot of black and white TV shows, they used to, Aldous used to joke with us and say stuff like, yes, the world was black and white back then. And, you believe him when you're a kid. I mean, yeah. But, I don't understand it. Why would they do that?
That whole thing is like almost a metaphor for this whole fucking movie. Like how fucking stupid that is. Okay? Yeah. Just look, I don't like multiverses, but one of the few things I did enjoy about movies like Doctor Strange and Everything Everywhere All at Once is when they have fun with the multiverse, like when you actually have a multiverse where somebody has hot dogs for fingers, like in Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's the kind of shit that I think is funny. Just a black and white universe is boring and stupid. And we already saw it in fucking WandaVision.
Yes. It made no sense. And by the way, where was
it? Made no sense here either.
Where was Linda Carter, by the way? Go on, guys.
Yeah, I thought she was supposed to be in there. Somebody told me I didn't see her, but there was but I did see what's his face, the older Flash, and like
Garrick in there.
Yeah, I did see him, and
Adam West. It was cool.
I saw it.
Cool
John
West.
I didn't catch. I
wasn't moved by that shit like most people are gonna be.
But because to me, I wasn't moved by anything. But
because to me, it's a bunch of CGI crap. It's not anything real.
Yeah, it's such a nothing burger. You see that and you go, well, if the movie had been a lot better up to this point, maybe it would mean something, but it just doesn't mean anything.
Honestly, these are worse cameos than Doctor Strange cameo promises were.
Were they cameos or AI? Because when I saw Nick Cage, I was like, okay, did they actually have him on set?
Actually do something. He's the only one of these cameos that got to do something, and Joe Public doesn't know any. Is going to go, who was that? Was that Nicolas Cage? What was he doing there?
Yeah,
I don't know. Only geeks know what that scene meant.
Exactly, and the same thing with the Back to the Future joke.
Yes, thank you. Another wasted joke. I mean,
there's
the jokes in this movie. It's like,
dude,
every time you had a scene that could have had emotional impact, and they just throw some cheesy, stupid joke in there,
and they wouldn't let it go. They kept repeating it.
Yeah. And the parts where the thing is, the parts where they didn't let go of with the drama were not badly made. But once again, when you throw in Ezra Miller, you don't feel it because of how he acts, whether it's his younger self or older self. You don't feel like, okay, this is a very deep moment for him. Like you could probably argue that his parents were better actors. Even then, I'd still have a argument against them too. But those, just all of the Barry, his parents, they're all miscast. All of them were absolutely miscast. I feel like they had a decent idea for the drama scenes, but none of that fits in the context of the actors playing them. None of it.
Yeah.
I was just so pissed at this movie. Truth, Hope, Love says, so how would you compare what happened near the end to Ghostbusters Afterlife? P.S. You've never seen Princess Mononoke that had Billy Crudup in it. I may have seen it a long time ago.
The old animated film?
Yeah.
I've seen that, but it was animated. I didn't know he was in it. I don't know.
Ghostbuster Afterlife, I didn't have so much of a problem with it as some people did. I mean, I thought, it was kind of convenient, but also it worked just fine.
They didn't overdo it. Nobody spoke.
Right.
And it was just kind of in there, and it was nice, and it was just wonderful to see the mom hug her dad again. I thought that
I think it worked fine in Ghostbusters Afterlife. Here they felt obligatory and that's
shove it in, shove it in, shove it in.
Yeah, exactly. Because like what Six is saying there is like, the CGI cameo of Harold Ramis felt earned. It felt like they earned that moment for us and those making it. It didn't overshadow everything else. It was one little bit. This was like that, but on crack at McDonald's, because it's like an endless slew of fucking Happy Meals. That's what it felt like. It's like, it's this character, that character, this character, that character, this character, that character. Remember this? Remember that? Remember this? Remember that? Oh, remember this line? Every line that Batman has, 90% of them are lines that he has said before.
Yeah, it's so bad.
And
I'll say though, I liked it when Keaton said, "I'm Batman." I was okay with that one. I was happy to see it. I replayed it a couple times.
It felt forced, but at the same time, it was the only one that felt right.
Yeah.
But that "Let's Get Nuts" scene, in the context of it, was awful.
Yes,
awful. Oh, dude, I heard when he said that. I remember seeing the trailer for that, thinking, "Okay, I hope that's just the trailer, and I'm taking it out of context." And then you see it in context, and it's worse. It's worse.
You were going to say something, Six?
When Michael Keaton says, "Let's get nuts," that line, that was completely out of place. It had no context in the scene. And I think it was either in a trailer or I knew that he was going to say it. And I was kind of looking forward to it, and it fell flat. I thought, why are you saying that? It has nothing to do with anything that just happened before this.
That's kind of how I felt about the Batman line. Like, it was more well placed than the other ones, but it was kind of like so predictable. Like the entire audience said it at the same time, which sometimes you want those moments in your movies. But here's what gets me about this. Like, this could have been something, especially with Batman being Michael Keaton coming back and the whole thing. And like, I even kind of like the line of like, he's like, "I can't bring you back, can I?" He's like, "You already did, kid." That kind of thing. Right. Like that kind of a thing. That's what this movie should have fucking been. It should have been that opening bit with Batman and Barry and Barry realizing, oh, Batman, just like me, lost both of his parents, not just one. And he even says it in the thing, "I can go back and save your parents too." That's what this movie should have been. The first thing he should have done is went back and saved Bruce Wayne's parents, then moved along to his mom. And then when he got back, realized everything was fucked up. And then from that point on, you just stick with that linear part. You get rid of the Zod Superman crap. You already have a villain. It's Barry.
Yeah.
That's why at the last minute, him as the third version of himself feels completely out of left field, because you have forgotten that fucker was even there, because he showed up in the first act of the movie and doesn't show up again until the end.
That's what frustrated me the most, because I was interested. You had a good villain there. And I wish they'd leaned into that a bit more and showed
they played that scene perfectly.
Descent.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that story. I wanted to see him descend into madness. And the movie has none of it. It skips the entire thing. It's like you say, you see him for like a split second early in the movie, and then he shows up again at the end. And you waste all this time on Zod when you have a far more interesting villain right there.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Six?
I had forgotten about him. By the time he comes back in and they end up fighting him, I'd totally forgotten about that character.
Exactly my point. And he's kind of one of the catalysts of the original comic book, if I remember right, because Barry keeps trying to catch him because he's the villain. But then it's not until the end that Barry realizes that's me. That's future me. And that's
a great movie with
that's where the whole clincher of the movie comes. And because that bit at the end is done almost tone perfectly and heartbreakingly perfect. Half the audience was crying when with that scene. I just had it here just a second ago. Here. So y'all know what I'm talking.
There are a few scenes in this movie that
where he knows he's got, and she's almost giving him permission, right? Like she's like, it's okay. I know you have to kill me, right? Like that's kind of what she's saying in this scene. That is the crutch of this movie.
And I loved that scene. It was filmed really, really well. They nailed it. But because everything else around it didn't work, it didn't land the way it should have or could have in a better movie. And it's not the only. There was a few good scenes.
Yes.
There's a few great scenes.
Well, they never even tell you who killed her.
They're so far apart.
No, well,
you just find out that she's dead, and you're just like, why is it that, like, even if I want to roll with this idea, like Claudia, even if we want to entertain this idea and accept it, they didn't even show the killer at all.
But this is exactly my point. That's where it falls apart.
Like, it's like they just completely left out an important part. Because think about it. If Barry's saying, okay, someone killed my mom, I want to find who did it.
You know what's implying, Nick? This is why it pissed me off, because you know what it's implying? It's implying that Barry always killed his own mother. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
No.
It's bootstrap paradox, just like I said 2-3 weeks ago.
Well,
because if Barry doesn't go back in time and kill his mother, then he doesn't become the Flash, but he doesn't become the Flash if he doesn't go back in time and kill his mother. How does that fucking work? That is not how any of this should. Ugh! You're right. You cannot do it without the initial killer involved.
Which is Eobard Thawne. I mean, Eobard Thawne was supposed to kill him.
And then this whole... sorry.
No. And they don't, for people who don't know any of that stuff, who go to see this movie, have to be walking out going, wait a minute, who killed her in the first place? They don't know who Eobard Thawne is.
That's what I was saying, is it starts to fall apart.
CW, but, you know, the CW show had that, but yeah.
I can't believe I had to be in a point where I had to defend the CW for being faithful to.
They did it better.
Yeah.
They did it better.
I don't like it, but
yeah, I know. Claudia, I'm with you there. I don't like it,
but they did it at least. Yeah,
they did at least did it, and that's just awful that you leave out a very important element of that. Like, think about it. Like, when Bruce Wayne became Batman, he wanted to know who killed his parents. Obviously, it was Joe Chill. For those who read the comic books, it was Joe Chill. So he wanted to obviously do the homework. Yeah, obviously for his Jack Napier.
Yeah, and this one, that's the whole thing is he gets to actually kill the guy. And that's what's stupid. I think he even mentioned something about I just wanted to always get the guys that got my guy that killed my parents. It's like, you did. It's like, never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I know you're making too much sense. Another thing I hated, and I think Claudia and I are gonna be the only ones speaking the same language here. But when they went to the roommate place with all the other people who are around Barry's age, and there's a lady there, her name is Patty, and I think that's based off of Patty Spivot, which was I think one of Wally's girlfriends in the comics.
Wally,
do you remember Patty Spivot? That had to be, if that was Patty Spivot, that was an atrocity, because Patty Spivot was a very clean cut, well dressed, had it together, very, very just, a girl who had it together in life. And you see that girl, she was just the absolute bottom of the barrel degenerate. And I'm like, you can't be telling me that's Patty Spivot. That was, because I'm thinking that's the only
her name was.
Yeah, well, they said Patty. I can't remember if they said the last name. And as soon as I heard Patty, I thought about Patty Spivot. I'm like, no, really? Dude, her? Are you freaking kidding me? And I don't, honestly, like, besides Barry's mentality, like, he did some very unheroic things. It's one thing if, like, you get naked on accident, but he was getting naked several times. Like, to the point where it's just like, it feels like this is an Ezra Miller intention because he wants to be Ezra Miller. And then the constantly stealing the food and drinks. Once again, it's one time
he
when
stole
one
clothes
thing,
from
but he stole clothes. He stole
from
beer.
an elderly couple.
Pizza. He's constantly stealing from people. And like I said, it's one thing if it's one thing, you're discovering your powers and things happen sometimes accidentally. But he kept stealing left and right from people.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Man. And the chemistry or lack thereof from Barry and Iris was absolutely not there. And what else is bad? Oh, the scene with the babies, dude. That the CG for the babies was awful.
Yeah, 6. You said something there that pissed you off. What was that?
No, there was something that I enjoyed was that he saved the dog. that's always gonna. He's always gonna get. You're always gonna get points with me.
Yeah,
Anytime you do something positive for animals. So then I was like, oh boy, I'm gonna end up loving this movie. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm okay with that 6, except the parts when it got so hardcore CG, it took me out of it. I was with that originally. That's the thing. I was with that in the babies until I saw it. I'm like, oh, then the CG hit, and it hit. It reminded me of, like, remember when we were in elementary school and you'd have your teacher bring in that cart with the box TV on with the big bubble on it, and you watch one of those weird CG videos on it. It felt like watching one of those like weird 90s CG movies from elementary school. I was just like, what am I watching with the scene, especially with the time travel and the big fight, and the baby scene, of course. It was all awful to look at. It was so distracting that the minute I had tension from the babies about to fall, when I actually saw the real babies, and then they turned to CG babies, it took me absolutely out of it.
I'm of two minds on that part, but yeah, 6, you were about to say something.
No,
6?
I'm done.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm of two minds on that part because I liked all the Batman stuff. Andre was right about that. Like the Batman stuff, it actually felt like, oh my gosh, this is a Batman movie. He's chasing down, criminals who stole this chemical that could kill the town, the entire town in a matter of minutes. Once we keep jumping back to the Flash crap, though, that kept taking me out of it. Like the Batman bits were pretty good. Him getting, drugged behind the car and the whole thing on the bridge, and
yeah.
And then Wonder Woman shows up, and then there's that awful line, where he's saying, if I really want to stop crime, I should fight poverty. It's like, oh my God, there's one of your messages in this movie already. But anyhow, because that stuck out to me because.
The constant conversation around feelings was getting annoying. My mental health, my feelings. I was just like, oh God, they're gonna do this. I let go one line, but then they kept going on about it. I'm like, oh God, please stop. I'm trying to enjoy superheroes.
I cringed that they chose babies in the first place. It's like, what's
It could have been fun, I think, CC, but the CGI really killed it.
Yeah,
and then you have this whole building that's coming down, and the only people in that entire building now happen to be babies.
And the way they set that up was so stupid. That's the thing, is everything in this movie is like, that could have been a good scene. That could have worked. That could have been a good scene, but you did that stupid thing, or you said that stupid thing, or why did that character do that stupid thing?
Putting a baby in a microwave, I don't know.
That was another one that made me kind of just...
That was just
cringe.
weird.
Flinch and cringe a little bit. Like,
it was cringy.
Yeah, it was...
Line them all up in the air. I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential for creativity in that.
And not only that,
setup,
what was the intention of making it to where Barry lost his fucking powers for a portion of the movie? That made no fucking sense.
Because that part I understood, because it's the idea when you're in time. Remember in Back to the Future, where the longer he was in time, the less he was having of himself. It was kind of like that, because in the original Flashpoint comic 2, he had actually lost his powers instantly, and he needed to regain his powers back, because the longer he was in the paradox, the less he was not only having of himself, but also remembering of himself as well. That's where that comes from.
See, this is the thing. It's been at least 20 years since I've read the comic. Been probably a good 10 years since I've seen the animated version of this. I watched the first couple seasons of The Flash when they were on. So like, I've got those three versions convoluted in my head as far as what the Flashpoint story is. But what you just said there, Nick, is what I noticed throughout this entire fucking movie. Like, the spaghetti conversation is the example of what I'm getting at here. And that is, there's all these stupid things that you could have dropped from this story, because this is barely Flashpoint as it is. But yet you try to find ways to convolutingly still fit some of this shit in for some dumb fucking reason, right? Like the spaghetti argument is a whole part of what I'm getting at. What you just said there, Nick, is a whole part of what I'm getting at. Instead, why didn't you just have it simplified in that, oops, he accidentally fucked up. And if you want to make it more like Back to the Future, he accidentally fucks up himself getting struck by lightning. Hence, he never gets his powers in the first place. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, since they're still supposed to be the same Barry, he no longer has his powers. because the other one didn't get changed. So then you then you still have that funny scene where he's trying to give both of them powers, or he has to try and give the other one powers without killing himself. You know what I mean? Like, you could have had fun with that, but instead it's done in this convoluted fucking way, and it's like, why? Like, isn't even a thing in this movie. There's so many things in this movie that are like, why are they there? Oh, they're there because they were in the original comic, only now they got to retroactively make them fit. That's what it felt like I was watching the whole time. I don't know if you guys felt that way, especially Nick and Clobby, knowing the comics.
They were trying to retroactively fit in Barry being involved in the whole Man of Steel story. I noticed that. They're trying to make that retroactively fit. You know what I didn't understand? And maybe I saw it wrong. But it looked like when they were showing the whole multiverse, and when they showed Jay Garrick, it didn't look like John Wesley Shipp. It actually looked like Teddy Sears, who was what was supposed to be who ended up becoming Zoom later in season 2.
Right.
But he disguised himself as Jay Garrick. I'm like, that looks like Teddy Sears and not John Wesley Shipp. And for those who remember or don't remember, John Wesley Shipp was the Flash of the 1990 TV show, and he got casted for the show when he was originally Henry Allen, but until he got killed by Thawne, aka Reverse Flash, they decided to cast his role to make him the Earth 2 Jay Garrick.
They made him Jay Garrick.
He wasn't Jay Garrick, and it looked like Teddy Sears. If anyone can correct me, that did not look like John Wesley Shipp. It looked like Teddy Sears.
It wasn't John Wesley Shipp.
I thought it was John Wesley Shipp, but I guess not. I don't know.
I thought it wasn't, but I got a glance at him, so I could be wrong.
I can't tell either. That's the thing, is all these were fucking CGI, and they looked like it. Every Henry Cavill bit was CGI, and that's why I said earlier in this, because Brian had asked too. He goes, all these cameo. No, he's in there, but it's CGI him. He's not really there. And that's the other thing, is none of these cameos, aside from the obvious ones that are on screen in the scenes, like I'm talking about through the whole time jump thing, nobody ever says anything either. It's like, why are these even here? It's like they serve no purpose to this story whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's pulling these people from different universes to help him and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point to it. That's what I meant by Doctor Strange's cameos. Is as sad as they were after all the promises we got made, at least they played a part in the fucking movie. Even though they did turn him into spaghetti after the first 2 seconds he was there, Reed Richards at least played a part in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, I think Professor X had at least 5 lines. He died again because he's done that at least a dozen times. I'm serious. Patrick Stewart as Professor X is vying for the most times died on screen next to the Waynes.
Dude, he's a few short of Kenny, but he's catching up. Just give him time.
I swear the Waynes are the only other characters on screen that have died more times.
Oh, God. I remember when I saw it in Joker. I'm like, oh, here we go again. And
I thought we were going to get it again in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought for 2 seconds there, they're not going to flash back to the original Batman movie, are they? God, do we really need to see this shit again? Because I get it. That's a good connection with the two characters, right?
Yes.
And it's a good way to build this story off of that kernel of an idea. That's what I was saying is, okay, so if you change it and something happens and then he goes in and, okay, all of a sudden Michael Keaton's Batman. I don't think people would have cared then, right? Leave all the Superman trash out of this. Leave all the other shit out of this. Have it all then be about this black speedster, the bad version of Barry, and Barry trying to figure out who this is and who killed his mom and all that kind of shit. That's what the movie should have been in the first place, right? And it shouldn't have been him. It should have been Eobard Thawne or whatever, but yeah.
I wonder how much in development all of this multiverse stuff is just linked to like a bit of an arms race. And
this movie has officially soured me on multiverse, CC.
Yeah. It's become a thing that both Marvel and DC are doing right now.
And I haven't even seen Spider-Curse 2 yet. And I'm sure that's like fucking multiverse overload.
I'm done with the Wayne death.
Tired of multiverses in movies, especially in movies.
I think it's we've had a handful of multiverse movies, and it's already exhausting, and that's saying a lot. Maybe me, guys like Claudia and I are more exhausted because we have seen this stuff in comics for the long time now, and it's definitely hurt the comics. And I didn't mind as much when I was a teenager, but by the time I was in my, I'd say, early to mid 20s, it started to not feel as cool. Like, I liked it, and I still like it with like the 2099 timeline, because technically that's still not really multiversal. It's just the future. It's still the same 616, but now it's just like everyone is a hero, and to me it just ruins the specialness of each character and what they are. It's just now there's just everyone has a version of them, so everyone can be a hero. It's
Well, and you
that's a whole other can of worms I'm not going to go down. But
no. But like, that's the thing is, like, I've gotten into this debate so much in the past few weeks, and what it always boils down to is I end up going, this conversation right here is what's wrong with having a multiverse, right? Like, the whole idea of this, like, I don't like it, because I actually got in an argument with somebody the other day about it in my personal life. It was really weird because because they were talking about this movie coming out, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't want to see it. I'm like, I got to see it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And somehow we got on the multiverse conversation. And they're like, well, I don't mind multiverses. I think it's neat because in that way you can have another actor come in and play a part and explains why they look different. It's like they used to do that all the time. It was just, you just fucking ignored it, right? You just pretended they were the same person. And that's where I jumped to the whole thing of like, you know, and I kind of spoiled it for this individual. I'm like, kind of like how at the end of this fucking movie, you've got George fucking Clooney for no good goddamn reason, when he's supposed to be the same damn Batman as Michael Keaton. And again, they're like, well, you know, I just think it's neat. It's like, well, that still just ruins the fucking logic of the whole situation of sometimes in this own movie, you have Billy Crudup recast as Livingston. And did they recast his girlfriend too? Because that's not the same Iris that was in the other one.
Yeah, I don't think so.
In Justice League or whatever it was that she was in before.
The Snyder Butt?
Either or. I think she was in the other version too, but still, either or. Yeah. I know we've seen her before. It's not the same actor, but it just. I wouldn't have had a problem if they just kind of like slimlined it down to have this idea of, okay, Barry went back and saved Batman's folks and saved his mom, and comes back, realizes everything's fucked up. So then he goes back and tries to fix both things. Then he comes back and everything's fucked up, and all of a sudden Batman's 20 years older and he's Michael Keaton. I don't think anybody'd have a problem with that. Adding all this other garbage on top of it is too much. It should be a Flash and Batman story at the end of the day. That's what it should be.
It should have been a Flash. Well, here's the thing. They should have just made a Flash movie with a origin story that's not retroactive of, hey, younger Barry, this is how you had your origin story, because this story of the Flashpoint, once again, if I want to accept and allow this, it feels like, and I said this a few weeks ago, it feels like the third movie of a trilogy, because it doesn't feel like the Flash starting off. It just feels like you're expected to already be invested in the character, and they know that a lot of people aren't aware of the character because they know the majority of people don't read comics. So I get that they want to try to fill people into why you invest in Barry, but because you have the origin story, you don't have his journey that came, in the middle, and we don't have that middle, and that middle has a lot of gaps there. You could show you the triumphs and the falls that he's had along the way, whether it's in his personal life, his as a CSI, or his love life with Iris West. The fact
I agree with you, Nick. This is supposed to be
that he's always late to things on time. The fact that he's also a great hero. There's so much missing there, and it's just like they're expecting you automatically just to be invested with that, and it takes more than just an origin story.
Well, and that's what bothered me too, Nick, is that, look, I get it when most people say I'm sick of origin stories. What they're really saying when they say I'm sick of origin stories is I'm saying sick of the same three origin stories. Those same three origin stories, I'm sure you guys can guess who they are. Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Because everybody fucking knows how they were made. Yep. Not everybody knows how the Flash was made.
Yes.
I am one who would argue that you are right, Nick. I'm of two worlds in this. What you have here is what, first of all, could have been a clever way of getting back, like you just said, into how Flash became the Flash without it actually being an origin story at the same time. It is, but it isn't, right? It's him going back into his history, and we get to see for the first time as the audience how he became the Flash and some of the things he went through in the meantime that we didn't get to see. That's not what this is either at the end of the day. This is more of a Justice League movie than the fucking Justice League movie, and the Justice League is hardly in the goddamn thing.
Yeah, it's just, and even once again, if I'm allowing the storyline, if I'm accepting it, we even diversity hired Supergirl. No, not many people want to hear that, and I'm not saying that as a diss with Sasha Cal, but the fact that Project Superman was a project based on Superman, they changed it to Supergirl because, well, it's gotta be Supergirl because there's already too many men.
Exactly.
No,
I was going to say that's the reason behind it.
I'm not saying that she's not talented. Maybe she is. Maybe she is. I won't doubt that. But it's clear that they did that because they want to have a girl in the part.
I don't know. She's only in 3 minutes of the movie.
Yes, not there much.
And most of her is CGI.
An atrocity. Once again, this is the third movie. We couldn't have the Flash go up against Captain Cold. We couldn't even have him go up against Reverse Flash. We didn't have him against the Trickster. We don't have him going up against all these villains. Yes, he's got so many characters. Weather Wizard. What's the other guy? Mirror Master. They could have done so many characters.
Great Rogues Gallery.
Yeah, he has a great gallery. And then you have the team, the Rogues, obviously, which has Cold and Golden Glider. Flash actually has a good amount of villains if people actually look past the surface. There's a lot there. There's a rich history there. And we have not even come close to scratching the surface. We have a guy who may or may not have been director Singh. I don't know. But I'm just going to assume that the guy was there. He was just another tokenized Singh. This was just done so they could wipe the slate clean on this DCU. I don't care if it was Hamada. I don't care if it was Snyder. Anyone who wanted to do this idea to lead off the Flash with Flashpoint shows you they're not invested in the Flash.
You know what you just said there, Nick?
History. Oh, Turtle. The Turtle's a great because he's a guy who goes ultra slow. They could have done the Turtle. Oh man, I would like to see. He's a cheesy villain, but it would be cool. It would be cool to have speed versus slow.
I do like the
I
Turtle.
would like it.
But no, what you just said there, Nick, is exactly what I felt walking out of this movie, and I see the confusion that people are having, and I totally understand it, where they're like, okay, this is the setup for the gun universe, because it makes sense because of the bullshit they've been putting out in the press about Ezra Miller, even though they've been saying, we'll see, and everybody knows Jason Momoa is not really technically going anywhere, he's just supposed to be switching roles. But at the end of the day, what this does look like to most people looks like, okay, so this is the setup for the future. No. What I got out of it when I left the theater is what you just said, Nick. This is a goodbye to this cast. This is a goodbye to this world. This is the last final hoorah. Ezra and Jason Momoa were the last two standing at the end of this. This was everybody else was in it but Henry, like I said. So everybody got their moment.
How that happens,
isn't it?
But Henry. I mean, I'm fine with
Cyborg, of course. Even though they do mention Cyborg, but I barely consider him a part of this, right? Like,
he's a Teen Titan.
He's in one fucking movie and he's the worst part of that. He's even worse than the Flash in that movie, if you ask me, because he can't act. At least Ezra Miller can act.
Against
himself, he can act. And he was good with his mom. But there's no chemistry there between him and Iris. And Billy Crudup worked better together because Billy Crudup felt. Here's the problem with John Livingston, because I like him as an actor, Ron Livingston, but like having him play this part, I couldn't take it seriously. Right? I'm so used to him playing comedic roles that switching from Billy Crudup to him made me take all the seriousness away from what he was dealing with. Does that make sense? Like I almost laughed at the scene with the knife because I couldn't buy it. I'm like, this looks bad. This doesn't work. What is going on here? And that's when I started asking myself the same questions you were asking. When are they going to introduce who actually killed his mother in the first place? Because they never do.
Never do. You're supposed, and again, like I said, for people not in the know or who don't know that sort of thing, neither by TV or comics, are going to walk out of this movie going,
they subtly tell you who did it. You want to know how I know? Because Barry puts on the sunglasses and the hat and the flannel shirt as he's going to see his mom and change things there. He's going from there to kill her right afterwards.
I don't think he was.
No,
They are setting. Yes, they set it up that he kills his own fucking mother.
If
That is the way this movie is set up.
I didn't catch that because when you see him,
because he even says it, because that's what the younger Barry freaks out about, because he's basically telling him, I have to go kill mom.
He does.
I thought he was being figurative about that concept.
No, I think he's being fucking serious. And I think that's why he's putting on the cap and all that shit, is he's making himself look like he's gonna go rob the place. So the person that he thinks all this whole time was somebody else was him the whole time. And that's why I said this whole thing doesn't make sense unless you have to have a third person there. And they didn't
have a beginning killer.
If that was supposed to be the case, that's worse, because all I got was once again another off-screen death with reverse flash.
That's the only thing that makes sense, Nick.
Reverse flash.
Ooh, boy. Either is bad, but that one somehow is even worse than.
Well, they leave it so you don't. I mean, I didn't catch that, but and they'll never tell you whether it's the case or not.
That's why they have that whole scene to me. That's what I got out of that whole fucking thing, was that was his mother telling him, it's okay, I understand what you have to do. Because when she sees his eyes, she knows who the fuck he is.
Didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, watch it again thinking that, and you'll see what I'm saying.
I'm so used to it being Professor Zoom, aka.
That's why I freaked out at the top of the show saying this is a bootstrap paradox from the start. It makes no fucking sense. They are implying that he does not become the Flash if his mother doesn't die. And they are implying that his mother is basically, knows she has to go. She knows something in this scene is going to have to happen for him to become who he has to be.
That's the case. I hate the movie. I just thought it was.
The whole thing is a bootstrap paradox in that sense, because you never introduced a third party. Especially,
wrong, I just don't know.
You never did. They never even insinuated there was another party involved. That's what I'm trying to say. The way this movie is set up from the very start, if you watch it from beginning to end, that scene where he's talking to himself in the speed bubble thingy, when young Barry realizes that his mother has to die, what the other Barry is saying is, I have to do it.
If that is the case, that's even worse. Like I said, I'm not catching that, but I almost feel like I need to find a bootleg just to see that.
Because he's implying it always was him. That's the thing I'm saying, is it always was him to begin with.
I could see how the writers might have thought that way, but
that's the thing. I can see the writers thinking that. I can see the writers thinking that, because we have writers who don't understand. He goes, Zack Snyder. That does a very Zack Snyder ending. Now, if Zack
it's their own fault.
I would actually buy it.
If they didn't imply that or didn't mean that, then that's their own fault for not bringing in a third party. Well, because otherwise there is at no point they mention another version of the Flash, Reverse Flash, Yellow Flash, any of those other ones. It's always just Barry Allen, and it's the younger version of himself, the middle version of himself, and the older version of himself.
Well, look, if you're right, and I just didn't even, I guess you have to, if that is true,
because I'm
not saying you're wrong,
but think about it for a minute. Because in the other universe, he wasn't where he was going to be to turn into the Flash in the first place. Because he wasn't going to become CSI. Remember, he was coming home to get his fucking laundry done.
Look, I'm not saying you're wrong. I guess
that's the whole point. Because, and if you think about it, that was that timeline. Him getting stuck there was done on purpose, because in that timeline, he didn't become the Flash, which causes a bigger paradox at the end of the day. So he had to be there to make sure he became the Flash, since his mother lived in that timeline.
I seem to remember there's a line in the movie about it being on purpose. I'd have to watch it again.
Well, he gets to the end. It's like he says it. It's fate. It's all fate. That's how he gets Batman involved.
Exactly. Yeah. So you might be right. There's not a single frame of any.
Look, I'm a fan of time travel movies. Trust me on this one.
It's so absurd.
It didn't occur to me. It's so bad. It didn't occur to me.
Wrong. It's just
I would never put it past these people. So, but look, it's food for thought. And believe me, these people are such jackasses. To do something that sounds very Snydery. So, but I'm gonna have to run, dudes. But
yeah, UN 6, I think, too. Oh, 6 just left on us. I was going to let her say goodbye.
5, 6.
I enjoyed it, man. Well, not the movie, but I enjoyed being here hanging with you guys. and you've just made the movie even suck even more for me.
Yeah, if that's
Mecha J says so.
Hero.
Instead of Flashpoint, the movie is Flash misses the point.
Boy,
No,
does it
yes
ever.
and no. Yes and no. That's kind of the whole point of my argument, Mecha J. And I'm sorry it took us so long to get to the rest of these super chats here. And yeah, I know Phantom could for me. No, but like Back to the Future is a great time travel movie. Time Cop is a great time travel movie. There are a few that actually seem to get it at least logically right at the end of the day. And it's really simple. Once you start adding this pseudo science shit to the bullshit problem with it, that's a problem. The spaghetti argument was the dumbest scene in the whole fucking movie.
Was dumb. I'm gonna run, bud. My friends, good to see you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Clobby.
Take care,
Thank you for
buddy.
being here, bud.
All right, everyone, have a good one.
Take care. Well, we're gonna be
Yeah,
wrapping it up here pretty soon anyway. But yeah,
I'd love to
CC.
see them focus on single items like trying to save his mother, or there was that concept in the movie about things that cannot be changed, an absolute intersection, and that's one thing I did like. But focus on it. Focus on his attempting to fix something that cannot be fixed and how it causes his descent into madness, and build that around your villain and have him face off against himself, which that the movie is about. And again, I would prefer a different actor than Ezra because I don't like the way he portrayed it. But I would have, that's why I say, I would have liked the movie better without Ezra, just as it is, but it's also such a total mess that it needs a complete rewrite to take out all the Supergirl stuff. Yes, Batman's good because there's a good dynamic there, but as a supporting role, not as the principal concept. The principal concept should be the Flash having that struggle to try and fix things that he can't fix, and have that split him between himself and the descended self and face off against himself. I think there was definitely something that could have had emotional impact there, and it got completely missed, a long way missed in whatever the script ended up being. And I'd love to know more about the development process of this movie, where it started and how it became what it was. I think there might be an interesting story there.
Yeah. Well, Nick and I are going to go talk about this over on. Are you going to join me over there too?
I'm going to join you. I'm going to come. I promise.
And this scene here felt like it was straight out of Back to the Future. It's like, and I'm sitting here thinking, this could be interesting and funny if it was different actors, just like you just said, CC. Like in a perfect world,
it would have been better if it had an actor who looked at
somebody like Tom Holland or something like that. Somebody who actually knows that
charming.
Kind of.
Yeah, he has that little that, but I don't mind the high energy neuroses, but I needed it to be more charming. Like when Ezra was doing it, it felt like I'm going to keep you at a distance and go get your latte.
Well, and their whole thing through the whole movie is that scene that's in Back to the Future 2 where Marty meets his own kid and he says, "Stay down and shut up." Like that's really this whole thing.
That's the feeling. Yeah. It's grating. It's not charming. And Tom Holland
I get why they're
charming.
doing it. But
yeah.
Exactly. You could still do it in a way where, because that's a great scene when Barry realizes that, oh God, I am this annoying. But like you just said, you're right, CC. Guys like Michael J. Fox, Tom Holland, certain other actors can do that and still be charming and funny at the same time. Ezra's not one of them, unfortunately. He does have some comedic timing. I'll give him that, because there was some times I did chuckle, but it was just more out of a lot of his stuff. It was just kind of more out of embarrassment, I guess.
I don't completely blame him either. He had the script that he was given.
Right.
And I got a lot of that whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing in here, which worked in that movie. I love that movie.
Ooh,
but
man,
it does. Yeah.
That just reminded me.
Now.
What was with the punk rock song in the middle of the fucking fight? I'm like, what the hell? Right. And I remember saying that out loud in the theater. I'm like, what the fuck is with this music? Like, oh my God.
There were definitely scenes that could have had real emotional impact. Now, more if the script was tighter, sure, but still, nevertheless, a few scenes that I think really hit, like the scene at the end between him and his mother, was filmed well, but you know, a lot of other scenes that had emotional impact that were completely undermined by just cutting to Ezra delivering a joke and delivering it, especially the way he was delivering it. And it just it ripped that emotional any emotional impact that the scene still could have had, just ripped it right out of me. It took me completely out of the scene.
Yeah, I know some people were getting emotional in the theater, and I could feel that. But me, I was like, okay, this is manipulative kind of thing. And it's like, again, like you said, if it was a better actor, but that those moments were when I'm like, there is a decent movie here, unfortunately. But I don't know. It just pissed me off so much. But Nick, any final thoughts on this before we go into the super chats here?
I'm not one to tell people what to do, but if you're going to ask me, Nick Weiser, do you recommend seeing this movie as a comic book fan or a movie fan? I'm going to give it a hard no, because even if I look at it as just from the fact of a movie, it's just a poorly made 5 movies in one movie, and everything looks like garbage, and the characters are not really characters that you can connect with or feel anything with besides a few dramatic moments. I feel like would be better if I had a relationship that built that through time. But there was nothing there to give me that emotional investment over time. They just expect you to dive right in within a few minutes. I mean, that
You're right. This
Barry
felt
and
like
Nora is with a. I get it. You want to have that. I get what they're trying to go for with the son and daughter having their attraction to their mother and father. I get that, but that type of relationship with such a dramatic death and trauma, it needs a lot more. It needs a whole lot more.
I
to really make
agree,
that
and
death
I don't
feel
remember
like
who said
matters.
it. I think maybe it was Chris Gore or something like that after he first saw it, because it was somebody who saw it a while back said this very thing to me. They said it feels like this is like a third movie in a Flash trilogy we never got. I can't
It
remember who
is.
said
It's
that.
it,
It feels like
I
that
said that
though.
a few times. It feels
May
like the third movie in a trilogy. And once again, I know our people who are saying, "Oh, well, I didn't grow up as Flash fans." Okay, well, that's fine if you didn't. You're missing the point. The point is somewhere out there, someone's favorite comic book character is the Flash. And imagine if that's someone. Just put in whoever your favorite comic book character is. They're getting their first movie for the very first time, live action, big exposure to a mass audience, and they have to get sidelined by another character. It's not okay. We have to now remember that the Flash has to live under Batman's shoes. And like I said, I come from I like Michael Keaton as Batman, but he should have to be the Flash. We should grow with him as the Flash. Now, does Batman make sense as being a guest in a Flash movie? Actually, yes, of course. Barry's a CSI. Both are detectives. Both know the law. Both know how the system works. There's
exactly.
a lot
You see where
there
I'm
you can
coming
play
from.
off
Yeah.
of there. And I've said it many times. Barry Allen's one of the few guys that Bruce Wayne actually respects and likes and goes to for information and knowledge of things. It would be you could do a great detective movie with the two. You could have Bruce who finds the clues.
Well, that's what
Barry
I
who
was saying
speaks
is
through the
right.
clues. You could have done a perfect movie with those two being buddies, but no, this is an atrocity. So please, folks, if you're basing whether you see it on Midnight's Edge, save your money for Mission Impossible
Or Barbie.
or Barbie.
Of all the trailers in the theater, that one got the biggest response.
Yeah, that one got a big. And of the 10 people at my theater, there's 10 people. Yeah, Barbie seemed the most receptive.
The only other bit the kind of, because it stuck out to me because of the whole line with Batman of like, when he's got the lasso of truth on him, he's like, if I really want to fight crime, I should really fight poverty. Like that stood out to me because the only other trailer that got any response was the Blue Beetle trailer, and it was the fucking Batman's a fascist line. One guy laughed at it. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if he's laughing because it's ironic or he thinks it's ironic or what, but yeah, I don't know if he gets what I'm thinking. But like, anyway, moving on. Warrior Justice says, what's the difference between women's track team and sneaky pygmies? One is cunning runts and the other is running cunts. Oh. Also, hello, CC.
Hello.
Yes. We got MR19 who says, do we at least get to see Supergirl's butt? I hear that it's PG-13 for an F-bomb and partial nudity. The partial nudity is Ezra Miller, and there's one F-bomb.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's definitely Ezra Miller.
Actually, that was one of the more well-placed. It was a better placed F-bomb than the one in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I will give him that. But at the same time, what the fuck? And that's what he said. Joshua Hammond says, I don't have issues with Flashpoint and time travel aspects. It makes sense is how Speed Force works, at least to me, Tom. It's hero time, Ben 10. Well, good for you, Josh Hammond, but that is just the dumbest shit ever. I'm sorry. Like, they don't even do the Speed Force bomb thing in this movie, though. They use the spaghetti
No cosmic
argument.
treadmill. No cosmic treadmill. For the comic fans, no cosmic treadmill.
Like, they don't even use that convoluted mess of an idea. They just use this convoluted mess of an... Like, it literally is worse in this movie because they just say that, oh, it doesn't matter. If you change something, at this point, it still changes the past and the present and the future. It's like, wait, how? That's not how it works. I mean, at least in the comic, they came up with that convoluted thing. Oh my gosh. He's here.
Hello?
Mikey.
Your favorite superhero movie,
timing.
I heard, just happened because I know your favorite superhero is the Flash.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, boys.
Tom, I gotta get moving. But hi, Mike. I'm not trying to.
I'll join you soon, Nick.
All right. Take care, chat. Stick around for Midnight's Edge and then come over to TNT after. All right. Thanks for having me, Tom. CC, see you later. And Mike, I can't wait to watch the replay of your thoughts.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we were just going through super chats here, but I wasn't even expecting you to make it tonight, but I'm glad you did, Mike. So quickly, what'd you think of the movie?
Overall, I'm going to give it a 6.3 out of 10. Maybe a 6.5. That's about as generous as I can.
You're being too fucking nice to this movie. What? Here's another gentleman. I did even see. Did you see the Flash script, Doctor?
I just got off of a Zoom watch party of it with some special effects guys.
Oh, cool.
Okay, now we're gonna get into some gritty nitty. I can't believe Mike's giving it such a high rating.
I give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's the most positive review so far.
You're giving it the most. Did you not listen to the last hour of the podcast?
No, I've been dealing with a.
Oh my god! I almost had a fucking heart attack over this movie.
I'll bet you did because it's not.
It was worse than I thought.
It's not a film. It's not a movie. What this is? It's a bunch of scenes. Some of which are cool, most of which are mediocre. It's a bunch of scenes duct taped together. That's what happened. I mean, it's a bunch of scenes.
I just got done breaking down how fucking stupid it was in the last hour and a half.
Well, we're going spoilers. Let me just say this much: the whole fact of the matter that the speed thingy, bubble fucking thing, whatever the hell that thingy is with the tomato can or whatever the dude. I don't know. That's the stupidest thing ever. Now, I mean, I don't know. The Flash is never one of my favorite heroes ever. Everybody knows that. I've said it many times on this and other channel. You run fast, not impressed. I'm Mexican. Sorry, it takes more than that. Speedy Gonzalez is my Flash, not Barry. That was a joke, but boom, bam. Get it?
Well, the other part, too, is that Speedy Gonzalez, some of the tricks that he does in those cartoons, the Flash does do in the comics to stop criminals, and that's what made him kind of appealing. This movie is a mess, as I predicted.
Mm-hmm.
It has a couple of really interesting concepts, but the concepts are way better than ever the executions.
Yep.
The entire saving of the baby stuff, they removed the stakes out of it because every single one of those kids he grabs them while running at super speed, which means they would be obliterated.
That was so stupid. And they didn't even look like children. The graphics were awful.
I don't even care about that part. Like, you throw a baby in a disconnected microwave, the microwave's going to fall heavier against the baby, kind of like a person when they're in an elevator that's been dropped. You rise up and you hit the interior. That baby's dead. Sorry.
If you're going to get this intricately logical about shit script, we're going to be here 10 years once you start getting through this movie of how dumb the fucking logic is.
I'll probably do a 9 a.m. Eastern live stream about this movie on my channel because it's atrocious. In fact, me and some of the special effects guys who shared the movie with me, we were laughing because they're like, in Superman, the movie, Superman actually slows down and catches Lois as she's falling gently so that he doesn't break her body when
Yeah.
he does it, and then it goes up because you can see the background go down and then go up and then come down because as Superman's flying up,
Like a trampoline or whatever you want to call it. Like,
well, like a bungee.
bungee, yeah.
Which also should have been the same case situation for when Batman is grabbing that guy off the bridge with the grapple. They just stop abruptly. It's like that's a dislocated shoulder on both of those characters hanging from that line. But no, what you would do in a situation is every time the Flash has to go to catch a baby, he has to get out of his speed zone, be in real time, gently be able to caress it, and then jump back into super speed to move the kid to another location safely. And in doing that, when he gets out of his super speed zone, the kids start falling at normal rate, which means that he has to be very fast in between all those actions before they actually hit the ground. And the last one he gets has to be like inches from the ground that he's able to cradle away carefully so that it doesn't, splat. But yeah, like they did nothing. It was all cool idea. How do we make it work and fun? Who cares? He just does it. And then the other part too, like, and this is something from the comics, which I've often criticized, which is if Flash is jumping off of something that is falling in midair, he's doing it at super speed, where every time he pushes off of it for Newton's second law, the thing that he's pushing off of should fire itself down into the ground or opposite direction. He's going almost like it's a bullet because it's that much force being pushed off for him to go at super speed. Like, and there's something fun you can do with that. But they don't think of those things because this is a slapdash movie. It was taken over by Ann Sarnoff. It was Kevin Tsujihara's idea to do the Flashpoint because he saw the failures, the numerous failures of BVS and Justice League and the Suicide Squad by that point. And because they had shot so much of it, Ann Sarnoff wasn't able to toss it out. So she changed it to try and replace all the male superheroes. And then when she was fired and Zaslav came in, he's found himself in the same position. So he's like, well, we're not going to get rid of all the male superheroes. So all the scenes we saw, like Bruce Wayne outside that courthouse and Supergirl outside that courthouse, those are all gone and replaced with George Clooney.
Don't even get me fucking started on that already again. No, look, like I said, I already tore down half of the logic of this movie, and I didn't even get like the baby scene. I just bypassed most of that just by saying it's fucking stupid because the bigger heart of the problem is the rest of the movie.
Also, how the heck were they not able to open the door inside the nursery on that floor?
I don't know.
Oh my God, I noticed the same thing.
There's 7 people at that door. None of them have a key. None of them have enough body mass to knock it in, to open it up.
I bet you there's an axe down the hall they could have used.
Why is it even locked?
That's what I'm talking about.
Why
exactly.
Is it even locked?
Why? Yeah. Why is it even locked?
That's almost like this
I've
whole
been in a
movie.
hospital like for a long time. Like what hospital doesn't have that button on the side that automatically opens it if it's locked?
It's the emergency exit button. When the fire or something happens, it opens up all the doors so that you can get out, and then the fire people, if they come in there, if they want to seal it off.
So what I take away from this movie is script is flying to the U.S. I'm picking him up at LAX, and I'm driving him around. And every day he's going to go to Warner Brothers. He's going to fix my DC universe. Script. We have a plan. Here's what's going to happen. On Monday, you'll do Batman. Then I'll take you for gourmet. I will pick you up early. I'll have a nice breakfast for you. I'll have your maple syrup, your bacon, however you Canadian likes it. And then I'm going to take you. I'll wait outside in the hot sun while you fix like Superman one day, Batman the next day, Green Lantern the next day, Flash the next. And on the 5th day, you can rest or do Wonder Woman or whoever you want.
Phrasing.
I like the fact that script thinks I'm kidding.
I don't know. I'm curious if anybody else followed along what I felt about the end of this film, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is the setup for James Gunn's universe." I'm like, "No, it's not.
No, it's not.
This is the last hoorah for everybody."
This is a swan song, if anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anybody? I am now speaking for all Snyder fans out there, anywhere that might be listening to this replay. Now, as we know, I'm in recovery. I am going through all of my steps. I'm working my plan. I have admitted that my life became unmanageable as a Snyder DC fan. Script. I'm in the process.
We're here for you and anyone else that wants to recover as well.
And so I'm in recovery, everybody, from being a Snyder fan. And let me tell you this. Those of you who have been Snyder fans and you want some more Snyderverse universe, you can go see this movie. Let me just tell you this. The Snyderverse is dead and ain't coming back in any way, shape, or form. No way, no how, no whole version of any universe, right? Script.
Yeah, Barry actually left the Snyderverse in this to go change it because he brings up something that's not in the Justice League movie, but in the Snyder Cut, which is that he traveled back in time in Russia. So it makes that's where the universe this Barry is coming from. He's coming from the Snyder Cut, and goes into the past. And the other part too is that you get him. I mean, the biggest fault of this story is the fact that it's built off of Flashpoint, and it's built off of the Speed Force, and which is written by Mark. If he's wearing red, I don't know how to write him. Wade, who botched not just the Flash for years, but he also screwed up Daredevil. And yeah, like it just doesn't hold water. The story, the premise, anything, it's compacting too much of it's compacting too much of the Flash's history in this one film.
And we brought that up earlier, is like, this could have been an interesting way. Because I said, look, when people say we're tired of origin stories, what they're really saying is we're tired of the same 3 origin stories, meaning Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Not everybody knows who the Flash is or where the Flash comes from. This could have been an interesting way, and CC and some other, we were talking about earlier, like Nick was saying, same kind of thing, is, you can go back into his past. And that's where I was saying the whole spaghetti argument is even worse than a flash bomb thing going off and fucking things up, because that is the most convoluted conversation I've ever seen on film when it comes to time travel. And I'm just sitting here going, this movie, there's a movie here. It's basically in that scene where Ben Affleck and Barry are talking, and Barry realizes, oh shit, not only did Bruce Wayne lose his mom, he lost both of his parents, and he even says, I can go save your parents too. So what the movie should have been then is that from that moment on, he goes and he tries to save Batman's parents, and then he goes and saves his mom, and he comes back to their time and realizes everything's fucked up. So then he goes back and tries to fix things, and everything keeps getting more fucked up and more fucked up and more fucked up. That's what the movie should have been. There shouldn't be a Supergirl in this movie. It feels more like a Justice League movie than a Justice League movie, because you got all these multi-characters, versions of these multi-characters. When if it was just a Flash story featuring Batman, I think it would have been a little bit more followable, doable. Just take the idea of Flashpoint, but not do all that stupid shit that's in there. Because at the end of the day, we were talking about this earlier, Barry and Bruce do have a lot in common, right? Like, they're both detectives in a way. They both lost a parent or both parents. That's why they are different. Who they are. I mean,
Barry
they all
never lost a parent until that changed in early 2000s.
I get what you're saying, but that's the whole point of them using this story, though. Script is my whole point, is if you're using this version, you could have still went back and saw all these things in his past, because not everybody knows his story, right? It's not like Batman and Superman and everybody else. Not everybody knows what his origin story, even just that part of it, whether it's the parents dying or it's how he got his powers or any of it. I mean, honestly, go back into these movies. Is there anything until this movie that would tell you that he's even a CSI? No.
This is the very first time that you find out he's a CSI.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. and this is what Nick and I and everybody else was saying earlier too. This feels like a third film in a trilogy we never saw.
Well, you kind of got the trilogy. You got the Justice League, then you got his brief appearance in the Suicide Squad, and now you got the Flashpoint.
Well,
what I found,
I said the old boost, the whole. Go ahead, Mike.
They weren't able to put together a cohesive story. I didn't feel that I was in a film. I didn't feel that I was in a movie, because there was not a cohesive story. It felt like a lot of hopscotch storytelling, jumping
and
around.
video gaming. I mean,
it did feel yes
meter on his wrist to find out when he needs to eat and not. It's stupid.
Right. That's what I felt like. It was a little bit like a video game where you're picking different trees and you're going through a story, and periodically you're brought in various elements. I'm curious what you thought of the treatment of the Supergirl character.
Fine,
she's
but
barely in the movie.
Incredibly underused. I think they probably picked the worst takes that actress gave, because she was very flat.
Right.
Even though she actually had curves due to the costume she was wearing.
Right.
I don't know what. I guess Chris Gore saw a different version, because I was looking for butt shots of the ladies. I didn't see one.
No,
not one in this film.
No,
I saw framing of chests, pretty nice, and Ezra gets naked twice in this movie, which is twice too many. Yeah, it's a very, very messy film. it's just it's really hard to put into
Well-
words how terrible it is, what they're trying to do. The fact that they actually have her go witness Zod attack the army and then fly back to help Barry get her powers was stupid. That seems like a really bad edit of sorts. The whole Barry
'cause
losing
half
his
of her
powers
story's
and then losing
missing,
his
yeah.
tooth. Losing the tooth stuff was stupid, not needed, no point.
Made it the final shot of the movie too.
Yeah.
It was
Barry,
just
the
for a
fastest
joke.
man alive, hears the lightning bolt, but doesn't use his super speed to get out of the way so it can strike his other Barry.
I know, that's what made that whole thing made no sense to me either.
Yeah.
That's what I was groaning about earlier. I said, if anything, you could have got yourself around that whole thing, because Nick said, "Oh, that's because that was the other thing we were talking about, is how basically they found convoluted ways of mixing in stupid shit from Flashpoint that they could have either just ignored or explained in a much better way." Because he said in the Flashpoint comic book, because it's been like almost 20 years or whatever since it first came out that I read it. So I only remember the animated version, and I vaguely remember that at this point. Plus, that's mixed with the first season of the Flash series. So I get a few things mixed around. But like, he was talking about how Barry was slowly losing his power when he was out of time. And I'm like, okay, well, you can do that in a whole nother way. They already had it in the fucking movie. It is set up in the movie that he was never going to go turn into the Flash in that timeline because his mom was alive. He wasn't where he was supposed to be. Well, right there's your reason he doesn't turn into the Flash. Well, then retroactively, that would make this Flash lose his powers. Whether you want to buy that scientifically or not, that's still a better way around it than this stupid thing they did in the movie. Like you were just saying, because that's the first thing I thought about script is, why didn't he get the fuck out of the way?
Well, the other part too is the fact that he's in a different timeline. So
if you want to
they've
look at
already
it that way,
established
yeah.
Hold on. If they already established that this Barry, whether he gets his powers or not, is not going to rob Barry of his own powers. They've already done that.
Well, and that's where I said, if you want to do it the Back to the Future way, yeah.
If they were doing a Back to the Future thing, they would have been gone the instant he traveled back. Because I mean, that's what they do in Flashpoint. Now, Flashpoint, the comic book, came out in 2011. It's not even a 12-year-old story. It's very, very new still.
It feels like that 20 years ago I read.
Yeah. And it's a garbage story. I mean, it's really just how the heck do we get Thomas Wayne to be Batman and Martha Wayne to be Joker? That's basically the idea, and they just ran with it. They don't bring in a real villain at all in this movie. So the antagonist is yourself in the future, which personally I think they should have, in the first season of the Flash TV series, they should have made Tom Cavanaugh play older Barry, who is trying to make him a better Barry, but has gone bad. But instead, they copped out and made him Eobard Thawne, which was stupid. And now here, all they've done is like they just got another Flash, except he's now covered in Kryptonian shards, metal shards, and stuck in a loop trying to save everybody. No, it's just stupid. I didn't even know who the heck that Jay Garrick guy was. Like, because there was never a Jay Garrick TV series or serial or anything of that nature. So I don't know why they even put that in there. And that's not a reference to anything. There's no other actors who played it. There's no Dean Cain. There's no Brandon Routh. There's no John Wesley Shipp.
That was just distractingly stupid.
Just terrible models of everybody else. Terrible models.
I got nothing out of it. To me, it was more insulting than anything. It was just like, why is this here? It's pointless. And at the end of the day, I said their own stupidity, since they didn't introduce a third party to the murder. Basically, what they're introducing is a bootstrap paradox here, where Barry kills his own mother because if he doesn't, then the Flash doesn't exist. That's how the movie ends.
Within the rules of the movie, that would be how it works. But I mean, the sad truth of the matter is, before his mother was killed in the comics, the Flash existed because he had a stable family home. Like, that's just it. The Flash.
That's not the version that this is, though. Script. That's the problem.
The way that they changed it is they had Eobard Thawne, who is inspired by the Flash, but it can never be heroic like the Flash, goes back in time to try and stop him from becoming the Flash by killing his mother, but he still becomes the Flash anyway.
Yep, and that's what we talked about in the beginning of this. But I said, and nobody could argue with me. I said, since they never introduced Eobard or a third party at all, the way the movie ends and the way I took it, and him putting that cap on and the flannel and the sunglasses and talking to his mom for one last time, he was going to end up following them home and killing her because that's what he has to do. and her giving him permission to have to do that because she figures out who he is basically in that scene anyway, and he figures out I can't be who I am without this happening, blah 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 blah. And since they never introduced a third party, that's what it means to me, and I don't see how you can see it any other way, because they never introduced any idea of anybody else killing his mother in this movie at no point.
No, they don't. However, I don't believe that he actually took those clothes with him as he left the store, because he picked them up in the store, put them on, said his goodbye to his mom, and then he goes to change the location of the soup can so that his father's face could be revealed.
But isn't he? Well,
but that's it. I'm like, why would he? He doesn't have to go back unless he like. The thing is, if you are doing that,
he tells himself he has to. That's what his other self freaks out about.
He basically says he has to let the mom die.
That's not the way I interpreted it, and that's not how he said it to me.
Well, I mean, the other way is like if he goes back, he's essentially killing his mom, but he's not literally killing his mom. And the other part too is because the movie's so shoddily done, you have a very good point for your argument, Tom, because they don't have Barry do anything. They don't even have Barry just go to look to see who does it, so that when he goes back to his own time in the present, he can actually point to the actual criminal. Like
that's what I'm saying. I mean, even if it was lost in the cut, but the whole point I'm getting at here is when he says that to himself, which pisses his younger version off. That's the way I took it. Is he's saying I have to kill our mother.
The movie completely ignores the killer.
Yes, it does.
They didn't even cast the killer. There isn't a frame of him in the entire movie. And as you say, Script, that's why Tom's argument has
because that's what I got out of this scene too. Is her basically saying it's okay. I understand.
I would hate it if that's actually what they intended.
I don't think they got that far in the story.
No, I don't think they were intelligent enough to realize that would be a byproduct of the edit that they've landed on.
But the fact they never cast the killer or mentioned it or even spent a moment in the entire movie addressing
we don't know that.
It
could have all been completely removed in the final process, and there's no credit given because it's never used. Like that's the other part too.
I'd be interested to know. I'd be interested to know what the actual process was, the production process here, where the movie started, where it finished, everything they shot, everything they changed. I'd love to know.
It's 8 years of history, so there's a lot there. I mean, the pivotal aspect of Flashpoint is the fact that Eobard Thawne did this all too. Like, Barry goes back and changes it, but he changes it because Eobard Thawne did it to begin with in the first place.
And they never introduced that character.
They don't introduce that, no.
Nor do they introduce a third party in general.
This movie is so fundamentally flawed. I don't see a way that there's a movie here or a story that's to be told.
Because you, as the audience, are left asking the same question the cops are asking. If it's not his dad, then who? And they never give you a who. And the way I took the conversation he was having with his younger self, the way this scene here that we're looking at right now played out, he does it. He has to kill his own mother.
Yeah, it's also incredibly strange that there's literally zero evidence to even imply that there'd be any other party involved.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, he killed his own mother. That's what I'm talking about.
Which makes this movie him basically a villain of everything. Yeah.
Yes, it creates a bootstrap paradox, looping around on itself, at the same time making him the ultimate villain. And Nick and CC were going off about all the shit he does in this movie that makes him not a superhero, all the stealing he does and everything else.
Yeah.
He steals clothes from an elderly couple walking down the sidewalk.
He doesn't even have to do that. He's super fast. He can just go to his room.
Yeah, exactly.
And go outside and
into his own clothes. Exactly. Yeah. And then he steals the director's hot dog even.
No.
That was Andy Muschietti he stole the hot dog from.
Yeah, I know.
That was one of the worst. Like, can you make it more obvious that this is a cameo?
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I liked Batman, but the lines were so bad. Every line you could almost predicted where it was going to come in. The entire audience said, "I'm Batman," right along with him.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's not really even the stuff that he does action wise. I was not whelmed by. I was not impressed. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't care. It just lacked a lot of cool because there wasn't anything to it other than look what Batman can do.
I was a bit angry that they killed him. I know it's multiverse. And there's probably 100 other versions of him, but I just felt like really, you had to kill him in this movie. That's not how I want to see that Batman go out. I love that. I love that he gets to play the role again. But then, give him a better ending. If that's the last time we're going to see him on screen, I was not.
Well, it wasn't
impressed with
initially
that.
going to be. That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, he.
right.
I mean, again,
Our reporting was spot on. He was meant to be the Batman going forward, and then that changed.
yeah. I mean, weren't there stills released of him?
That's what I brought up, Script. The very first stills we got of this movie were of the last scene that they reshot because Michael Keaton was in that original shooting.
Yeah, so it was Michael Keaton and Sasha Cali were both in that shot. Because she's flying, and
she flies in. You're right. Yes,
she has the whole terrible ab prosthetics on her costume that I remember a lot of people mocking, and rightly so. But I mean, it looked good in the final product, at least for the other shots, not not that one because it's not in the movie anymore. But yeah, it's it's a very messy, terrible film.
Well, and just to kind of fit it, because I didn't get this in before, because there was one other reason why I know that this is not leading anywhere. They don't set anything up.
No.
That was the other thing I noticed. Like, I'm like, if this was leading anywhere, they would have definitely set up something in that final scene. That was them having their last drinks together. That was what that was.
Oh, the Aquaman thing. Yeah, that was.
Yes. Between that and the whole George, it's all that is. That's all it is. Because everybody was in this movie except for Henry Cavill, I pointed out. Everybody got a chance to be in it.
And Ray Fisher's not in it.
Oh, yeah. Forget who gives a shit about Kryborg. The only person who gives a shit about Kryborg is Kryborg.
Yeah, I mean, that scene was so bad. It's like Jason Momoa just method acted or got actually drunk because he's not an actor. I mean, listen, I know a lot of people like him, think he's handsome and stuff, but he's not a very good actor at all.
In the right role, he doesn't need to be. He can just.
I said that was scene was just them, where they were the last two men standing. That's what that scene was, and that's it.
The worst. It is the worst after credits.
And he ends up in a fucking puddle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I didn't see any setup in there whatsoever at all.
Oh man,
no,
yeah.
My impression,
the Ben Affleck Batman stuff was horrible too. Like his costume is garbage. He's flying in a jet, and then instead of like picking up the bad guy's truck with the jet he has, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to use the motorcycle and actually just."
Now you ruined that soon for me because I actually said that was kind of a fun scene until Flash showed up. The Batman stuff
it makes no sense because Batman's a very efficient crime fighter, and if he's got a jet that can go between buildings, and the climax takes place on a very open bridge, it's like, why the hell is he ever in the motorcycle in the first place?
Yeah, you're right.
It's so stupid. Like, look how big that thing can fly faster than the car. You don't have to worry about dodging cars. Why not get on top of it? He's probably got grapplers or something on it because he's got grapplers on the motorcycle. Puncture the hull of the chassis of the car and just pull it right up off the road. That's what Batman would do if he had that technology and he had that basically expensive hovercraft thing. But no, we get a very superfluous, stupid motorcycle chase scene. He fires road scallops to puncture the tires, but they make a U-turn. And I'm like thinking, if this was like an Adam West Batman or Keaton Batman or Val Kilmer Batman, when he pulls a 90-degree turn to chase after the guys, he'd have like some sort of switch where that scallop thing would actually detract and return back to his bike so that other cars driving wouldn't get their tires.
Well, you're ignoring the whole setup of that scene because if it was there was a kids with buses and they kind of ignored that completely. Like that was the whole setup of the whole thing. Is like that's a Batman scene.
They don't run into
exactly like,
but they make a turn, so it's like, okay, great. Now, how about you grab the scallops so that other people don't run into the freaking bus? Their tires.
That was the dumbest setup ever. So I'm like, okay, because I seen the scene coming. Because like you just said, okay, so he threw the spikes out there, and it's like, okay, you were waiting for that oh shit moment where Batman realizes, crap, they're going to get into a wreck and kill like all those kids. So that's where Batman has to figure out a way to get ahead of them. And no, instead they just take a left. And it's pointless. It's like, what the who wrote this shit?
Christina Hendricks and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, I'm just like going, why is that? Wait a minute. You just had that right there is more tension and a setup for the same scene we got with the baby shower, right? It would have been much better. You know, this idea that Batman he knows that there's this imminent wreck coming and it's going to probably take out these kids that are crossing the fucking street. That's a Batman scene, right? Like that's.
Yeah.
Did they film that scene and then cut it in all of the?
I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
I
you know,
don't
if
know.
Snyder was
Steve.
directing
Start
it, that
wondering.
truck would be flying right into the school bus and killing
Exactly. Not to mention how many people both Batmen kill in this movie.
Oh God, yeah, kills a lot
At
of
least a
Russians die.
dozen.
So,
Yeah.
Tommy, you got some super chats? Hint, hint.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mikey.
So maybe you can talk about this stuff while you go through the super
Yes,
chats.
sir. Yes,
I'm
sir.
exhausted. I'm gonna go check out. I'm tired.
I love you, brother. Take care of
I'll see
yourself.
you. I'm
Kiss
morning my
Bambino for
bedtime
me.
too, so but I'll
Take
stick
care.
around.
All right. We got Charlie, who's been a member for 8 months. Says, I would like to liked what I've seen of Sasha as Supergirl in the trailers. Would you want to see more of her, or maybe in her own movie? No, not really. And she's not even going to be in the new one, as far as we know, anyway. And I think that's why she was minimalized as much as possible in this movie.
She's a good-looking woman, but unfortunately, whatever they cut together in the final version was not showcasing anything of her having a good performance.
What's hilarious is the third act of this movie feels like a Snyder movie. It feels like the third act of BVS, where it completely goes off the rails, and she's a big part of that. Like, her being introduced in the third act is like a whole lot of shit being added to a movie that was already convoluted, because there's no real setup for it. You don't really get much out of her character. You get the bare fucking minimum. Like Script was saying, it's like she leaves, she comes back, they fight, it's over.
Yeah.
Like,
Zod
it's
kills
really
her every
pointless.
time. Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Is it just because it's Kryptonian metal, it can cut her? I guess because that was like, I'm just like,
It would be the same molecular density as the rest of their species because it's all from the same planet. So yeah,
I guess. Moving on though, we got Deleted Scenes, who says, I'll stay home and watch Extraction 2. Go for it, man. You're probably better off. Tomorrow Lad says, why did he put the baby in the microwave? I don't know.
It's a gag, and someone at the studio thought it would be funny because people at studios are so disconnected from humanity that it is the reason why movies are lacking heart.
Camelbot Killer says, 6 reads, Tom, you knew from the beginning that The Flash was a dumpster fire. Why are you surprised the story was a colossal mess? I'll pass on it. Honestly, Camelbot, it's the only reason I'm as enraged as I am is I'm pissed because this could have been a good movie. Could have been. If you streamlined it to basically what we were saying earlier, I think it could have worked much better and been a much more poignant ending to the Snyderverse, or whatever you want to call this thing now, that is dead. And you know, at least the Flash finally got his fucking movie. But he's the one who should have been recast anyway. But anyway, Splinter 47 says, a mediocre time travel movie with sprinkles half-ass fan service. Yeah, it's even half-ass fan service.
It's not fan service. It's absolutely transparent.
It is.
Fan service actually serves the story to some degree. It's not the same as like stunt casting, which is just there to get the plebs to go ooh, like when John Wesley Shipp was cast in the Flash TV series. That was stunt casting. But yeah, no, this isn't fan service. This is transparently saying, here's all the things you wish that we would actually make, but we'll never make because we don't know how. So please come see us because of these things. We have nothing to do with them. That's what
Nick Cage AI Superman did not have the impact
shit in the world.
I would have liked. I always wanted to see him, but not like that.
Yeah, Script. You know what I said earlier? This actually made the cameos in Doctor Strange better.
They had purpose.
That's my point. That was my point. As at least they served a purpose in the movie. This was a glorified fucking goodbye to old DC, is what it was. This was all it was. It was a big. It was like one of those glory fucking fluff piece things that, you know, a studio will do.
It's an in memoriam type of thing.
Yeah, or 100-year it's basically their 100-year anniversary, 100 years of comic book movies and TV shows is what it was.
It was a centennial, yeah, but it's like, yeah, we don't care. We know. Just come listen. We've got CGI Helen Slater. Come watch our movie, please. We're begging you. Like,
and none of them saying a single fucking word.
Of course not.
Yeah.
And the renders weren't even fully complete either. So
no, it was horrible looking. Splinter
would have been
47
great like 20 years ago, but not now. No.
Splinter 47 goes on to say, I've been done with DC movies after Justice League. I don't blame you. Don't bet on James Gunn. Well, I hear you. We'll have to see how this rolls, though. I feel like he's going to give us a good Superman movie. Beyond that, I don't know.
Listen, he gave us Peacemaker, which was really, really good.
He has yet to give me anything I don't like.
That's that's the other part too. A lot of his track record is pretty good. May not be the most popular of all the things, but the quality's there. And I haven't found anyone that's seen all of his other stuff and not said, "Hey, yeah, at least there's emotion and heart."
Even Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember that being one of the better Troma films, actually.
There's not many. I mean, Troma deliberately makes bad movies for fun. Like
exactly.
That's kind of what they do. Like they're the only.
Exactly.
They are literally the only indie studio or any studio of any kind out there that deliberately is trying to make terrible movies that you can have fun with.
You're not wrong. But again, yeah, we'll see. Doug 1985 says this is all Zack Snyder's fault. I can't argue with that.
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited Power says I got my Superman 5 movie collection on 4K, not watching Flash. Well, I don't blame you. Pilgrim Media says, will Kathy stay on as wheels are coming off? Well, that's a totally different conversation. I'm sure you're talking about Christine McCarthy stepping down. Is that what you're referring to?
The CFO's gone at Disney.
Her cancer came back, I heard. That's why she stepped down.
Yeah, this is really new news, and it'd be well to let it bake for a little while and see.
I think we'll talk about it in the morning show, but yeah. But so stay tuned for that, Pilgrim Media. Mecca J says Keaton deserved a better movie than this. I agree. Honestly, at the end of the day, we'd have been better off without it. Last Millennial says script. Besides the main character, how do you give side characters story arcs? Are they supposed to be resolved at the end of the movie like the main?
You give a side character a story arc like you'd give the main character. That's simple. Like there's no trick to it. That's what you do. And ideally, you want to have those arcs kind of be resolved in the third act alongside with everyone else. The thing is that you're just giving more attention and focus to the main character because that's who we're following. Every character in your movie that's speaking should have some sort of goal behind what they are saying. If you want a great example of almost every character having an arc or a goal or motivation, look at The Fifth Element. The cops ordering food at the McDonald's there. This one partner's flirting with the wait staff in the drive-through window. His partner doesn't care. He just wants to eat. The first mate, or not really the first mate, but the one little naval officer who needs to send in Corbin Dallas to negotiate. He's got a whole thing going on there. All of the heel biters to Ruby Rod, Chris Tucker's character, they all have things going on there. It's a great example of how you actually, get some life behind the characters. Heck, even the Rastafarian dude that's burning all the parasites underneath the starship that they're going to leave off of, he's got a thing going on. Like that's how you do it. Not everybody can nail it, but that's a good reference point for you to start at.
There you go. Detail Devil says Flash sinks. Blue Beetle DOA. Gunn should announce Momoa for Untitled Project Part 3 Lobo before Aquaman 2. Lean in on his charm in film to drive hype. Honestly, I agree with you, Detail Devil, but I believe the only reason he hasn't flat out just said that shit's going to pretty much be a reboot going forward is Aquaman 2. Is they have to keep this charade going for another 6 months yet or whatever, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see.
He won't have any momentum going in to this whole new universe he's building. Blue Beetle's not going to create the hype. He's going to have to put out a great movie, and he's going to have to keep putting out great movies.
Well,
whatever.
The thing that, as I say, Gunn just has going for him is he's going to have a year and a half before anything comes out. Basically, it's stuff on HBO Max, yes, but nothing theatrical. Like, because Aquaman's the last theatrical film until Superman Legacy.
Yes.
And that's a flat out year and a half. So,
and a lot of people actually that I know of, at least some of the special effects guys, were really concerned because James Gunn said that, oh yeah, we're doing we're doing Peacemaker season 2 after Superman Legacy, and they're like, wait a minute, our schedules say we're doing it before. What the hell's going on? They have no idea because they're like,
I'm not so sure it's happening yet.
Well, they're wondering if they have 6 months where they have to find work because We were talking about that. That's what started the Zoom session, and then later they said, "Hey,
it might have changed because of the writer's strike. Maybe you think because maybe he had Superman done, and then
he finished writing it before
he did.
the announcement of season 2.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
And that was shortly after the wrap of season 1 of Peacemaker. He said,
I mean, because he said that specifically it was happening, like you said in that interview, and he said after Superman, which I caught, and I told Andre that.
Yeah, and then my fans are like, we don't know what we're going to be doing if that's actually true, because they're booked to do post for that, and it's supposed to be happening a good 8 months before Superman Legacy is scheduled to release. So the idea is that they're doing the post, and then it's going to drop before Superman Legacy.
I swore he said before that that was coming before Superman 2.
I think he maybe just got screwed up with the dates. We'll see.
Maybe I was wondering if maybe on Michael Rosenbaum's thing he meant to say I'm going from Peacemaker 2 straight into Superman.
Yeah,
I think maybe that's what he meant, because I could have swore before he said that Peacemaker 2 was coming first, because like you just said, that was already about ready to get rolling. So
that was he finished writing that before he started even working on the Waller series. So
right, and then we learned from that what I was saying all along is that's going to be the de facto Suicide Squad, because there's not going to be a Suicide Squad 2 or 3 or
most likely, yeah.
Because he just said that all the characters from Suicide Squad will probably be there. Camelbot Killer says, since woke took over, no IP is safe. Burn it down. You know, that was the one thing that probably wasn't in this movie, is anything really all that woke outside of the few stupid lines like, yeah, if I really want to fight crime, I should fight poverty. And stupid shit like that. Yeah.
But Bruce Wayne does that. Like,
that was the dumbest line in the movie, dude. I was just like, what the fuck? I know.
I thought a whole bunch of us kind of moaned at that.
Yeah.
But we groaned at a lot of stuff. Even like Diana's like uses the lasso to pull him up. I'm like, she can fly. And then literally she flies later. Like,
yeah, she leaves flying.
It's like, that is the dumbest thing.
It's because you had to have the suspense, dude.
No, the suspense would still be there. You just have to come in underneath and then she just picks them both up.
No, you're right. You know what this movie feels like? This movie feels like it was put together by a room of fucking executives. It doesn't even feel like a story writer even worked on it. Not once. It's like these guys kind of skimmed through Flashpoint. And they're like, all right, this is what we should do.
And they did nothing really from the comic other than
exactly. They just started to spitball. It's basically the scene from Gremlins 2, only everybody at the table instead of one person.
If we had some money, we could literally do a parody of that sketch for the Flash.
We brought back Batman. Yeah, what did we brought? Nicolas Cage, huh? Yeah, remembering when he was going to play? Yeah.
Well, what did we bring back the Michael Keaton Batman? Not only is that in that movie, it is definitely
and George Clooney.
Oh, you are just blowing my mind.
In the same movie. You know what they just did in the Spider-Verse?
Can't afford him.
Yeah. Well, fuck Chris O'Donnell. And that's the other thing is how much did these guys get paid? Because none of these people were actually even remotely there, right? Not even Nicolas Cage was there. They're all CGI'd. Mm-hmm. So all they got paid for was their likeness, basically. So I'm sure it didn't cost them all that much. Yeah. Anyways, Camelbot Killer says, since Star Wars was killed by its owner, nothing is safe to normies. How can you purposefully kill a billion-dollar franchise and not get fired? Well, it's because I don't think she purposely did it, but yeah.
There's nothing but purpose behind it. They thought they were going to make a lot of money, and they were just wrong. Nobody purposely does anything.
Hubris, yes.
To destroy a franchise. Even if they want to say, yeah, we want to get rid of the male characters and make the female characters, they don't think that's going to destroy it. That's the thing. They do not think it's going to destroy it. That is not their intention.
Yeah, they think of this shit like New Coke.
Yeah, or Pepsi Clear.
Whatever. Yeah, there you go. Jim Watari says, have you guys talked about Disney CFO leaving? No, because we're just doing the
it's not what this show's
stuff.
About.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk about that in the morning anyway. And like we said, from what I've heard, it was actual health reasons. It had nothing nefarious behind it. So with that, though, we are caught up. So I want to thank CC for hanging out. I want to thank Script for hopping in here. And of course, the rest of the gang that were here earlier, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. Clobby. I don't think I'm missing anybody. Did I miss anybody, CC? I don't think so.
Clobby, Nick, Mexican.
I said Clobby, Nick.
Myself.
Oh, Mikey was here too. Yeah, duh. For a hot second. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you hanging out. This, of course, will. Yeah, I said 6. Yep. This, of course, will lead you over to the boys over on Comics Division, where I'm going to go hang out there in a little bit too. So hope to see you there. Script, you got anything coming up you want to plug?
If my morning ends up being clear, I'll probably go live on my channel at like 9 a.m. ish, maybe 10.
Break this shit down.
And break this terrible movie down.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll be talking about it tomorrow too.
Oh, possibly.
Like I said, this is a mess. This is a convoluted fucking mess. CC, anything you got going on besides Friday night karaoke?
No, that's pretty much it tomorrow night. It might start a little bit early depending on what else is going on, so I'll keep you attuned to that.
Sounds good.
But this was great conversation tonight. Looking forward to more of them. It's always it's awesome when we all see a new movie coming out and we can discuss it like this. So a lot of fun.
I'm just glad I didn't financially contribute to it.
I wished I had gotten my hands on that version earlier, but yeah.
I look forward to days when the movies we get are better, but there are better days, there are worse days. There are. I guess take it both ways.
Bright side is I got out of the house, so
yeah,
that's all I can do is look at the bright side there. So with that, take care of yourselves. Have a good night, guys. I'll see you over on Thursday night.
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh,